Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this historic show of One State, which is a new channel founded by Mr. Walid Abu Tayyeh, who sparked it off, contacted me, asked me to support him technically. And what this is, basically, we have a constitution, which is written above on the logo, which is One State. So this channel, it's a media channel. It's not a movement. It's not an organization. It's not anything with any definition other than a channel, which enables people from all over the world to come and talk about any subject related directly or indirectly to one state. And today, our guests, Walid and mine, are Joseph Avessar from the Israeli-Palestinian Confederation, and Mr. Saeed Aziz, who is a TikToker, a Palestinian, a proud Palestinian, a person with a huge heart, and hardworking and loving and friendly and trustworthy. And I can't recommend all these gentlemen enough. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the questions. We decided today, rather than talking about, because everyone is brainwashed all over the world in different ways, shapes and forms, whoever is doing the brainwash wants people to talk, wants them first not to be able to define the problem, and then they talk about solutions. So everyone is talking about solutions to problems that no one can actually define. So we decided to go straight to the crux of it, to the heart of the matter, and define the very basic questions that are influencing all of our realities worldwide. So the first question relates to, it's not a question, it's a subject. Let's reverse engineer 3 facts. We'll state 3 facts and then reverse engineer and ask ourselves, oh, how did this come about? Because it exists, it's a fact, everyone agrees on it. Left, right, black, white, female, male, trans, everyone should agree on the following 3 facts, and then we'll reverse engineer and try and figure out how we got here. So the first fact is that settlers are people, perhaps, I'm just going to say it, settlers are doing inhumane things by burning Palestinian families. Can any of you please elaborate on it?
I could start as a Palestinian who born in a West Bank, and I have a few settlers surrounding my town, Al-Mizrah al-Sharqiyya. One of it is that we have a military base in the top of the Asur mountain. Then we have Ofra, and we have Shiloh next to Turmusaya. This two settlers or settlements have a road, and that road used to be used by my own road as a Al-Mizrah al-Sharqiyya citizen. And these settlers could pass every day with powerful machine guns. They have weapons, and they could just drive as fast as anybody can imagine. And anybody will slow them down. This settler could pull up his gun and shoot anybody. And in the first Intifada, I'm going to use this as an example that I saw in my own eyes. A settler who was passing my town from Ofra to Shiloh was stopped by some kind of roadblock. He pulled up his gun and shot the first mortar, we're going to call him, the first person who died in my town, named Khadr Sharari. He have 7, 8 kids. The oldest is maybe 12 years old, and he killed them in a cold blood. This is where I start seeing the settlers and steer the aggression and see what's happened here is not fair.
So can you just very briefly mention, just say, oh, it also happened here, there, and there, but without explaining what actually happened? Just tell us what happened. How were they inhumane in other instances?
So a settler can pass my town, use my road, and for any reason he feels threatened, he shoots somebody. This is inhumane. And he did kill somebody where I witnessed that person died.
Yeah, but you said that. I thought you had another example. Never mind, moving on. Perhaps Walid has another example of that fact. Alleged fact, because we are checking whether this is true or is this just a rumor that has no base to it.
Yeah, I have a lot of examples. For example, the behavior of the police, of the soldiers in the checkpoint. there is a difference between Palestinian and Jewish, and there is how do the soldiers are, how the
Yeah, but the soldiers are
policemen.
not the settlers. Walid, we're talking about the settlers. Examples for settlers, mitnachlim.
Yes, the settlers have no right to come there, and they behave as a policeman. They have a power. They have everything. They have in a bad way. They are behave in a ethnic cleansing way because they believe in superiority.
Perhaps you could give us more personal examples. Say, I know a guy called
I
Musa.
can give you.
He lives in Yeriha, and they did this to him. That's it, Yahi. No stories, please.
I can give you more examples. Right
No, I don't mean stories. I don't mean, let's not talk about the philosophy behind it and the reasons. Tell me facts. Do you know someone that a settler behaved in an inhumane way towards him? If yes, please tell us details.
They became in the sea area where it's belonged to Israel from the security and everything. They take the land of the tree. They destroy the houses of the people in Palestine in the sea area, and they kill the animals there. They have no roles. Yes,
no morals.
And no morals, and they behave as a not human behavior there. It's
I see. Right. Okay. Sorry. Moving on. So, Saeed, do you have another example before we move on?
Yes. Actually, I shared that example with you. Tawfiq Ajak, a U.S. citizen, 16 years old. He was in his farm in Freeway 16. A settler came out and he sniped him. Got him killed. And this kid have no use of violence. And the whole entire embassy was investigating the situation. And this was an act of a criminal. Then I told you about me, who's living in Mizra al-Sharqiyya. I cannot cross Freeway 60 to go to my olive farm. This is daily suffering from my own family because of the settlers.
But that's not inhumane. We're talking about inhumane. Okay, thank you for the examples. Joseph, do you believe this, all these stories?
Look, I thought that the idea is to discuss the ideology. You said, don't talk about the ideology. I think the ideology is the problem. I'm not able to give you specific evidence because I haven't lived in Israel, Palestine since 1974. But I speak about the ideology, the problem, the underlying problem. I don't think that we have to question that the problem is causing suffering for the Palestinians. I don't think that they have to be interrogated to give specific issues or specific example with specific names.
I see. Can you tell us about the IPC, please?
Well, I mean, we spoke about the IPC.
Not on this channel.
Okay, not on this channel. And this channel that you have is one state. And I thought that we're going to be speaking about one state. And I think that that's the main issue. Is one state a good way to resolve the conflict?
Yep. Please, go ahead.
So when we speak about one state, I don't think anybody that believes in democracy, that believes in human rights and equality, would have any argument against the idea of one state under one constitution, one state with a secular government with common parliament, common president, common vice president, common judicial branch under one secular constitution makes perfect sense. However, we have to deal with reality. One state would have been a good solution if we lived in 1947, before the creation of the State of Israel. But the reality is now is that we have governments. We have at least three governments in this area. We have a very entrenched and politically strong government, and economically, we have the Israeli government that is a military power, economic power, political power that is supported by the people in most of the Jews in Israel and even non-Jews in Israel. We have the Palestinian Authority, the PA. It's also pretty strong government. It's not as strong as the Israeli government. It doesn't have the same military and doesn't have the same economic or political power, but it is a functioning government. When you go to the West Bank, you see that they're managing it. It's functioning in the West Bank. And we have the Hamas government, mostly in Gaza, with a strong military, strong economic, strong political power, and support by many Palestinian people. So when you speak about one state, you speak about one government, one secular government with a constitution. And you have to deal with reality. The reality is that there are three governments in that area: the Israeli government, the Palestinian government, the PA, and the Hamas government. Yeah. So how do you dismantle these three governments? Or how do you make these three governments that are pretty much enemies of each other to merge and into a secular government where all of them incorporate religion into the government? So I saw you were interviewing Walid about one state. I think he's running to be in the Israeli parliament for one state. I don't see that as a possibility at this time. We have to talk about how do we get from here right now.
Okay, clear.
One
But
state.
Fair enough. So, I mean, we know with the IPC. Walid, would you like to add anything about that, or shall we go back to the subject we were talking about, which is the inhumane action? So we've covered that. What about soldiers and policemen misbehaving with Arabs, like in crossings? You hear stories. Walid, do you have a couple of examples? We're questioning this fact, this alleged fact.
I have a lot of examples, but let us summarize the idea. The idea in Israel, in the Green Line, as I'm Palestinian, but I have the Israeli passport, there is a huge discrimination. There is discrimination between Jews and the Arab. Also, we have the Israeli passport, the Israeli citizenship, but there is a lot of laws, about 60 laws against Arab. And the West Bank, we see that there is a ethnic cleansing. It's just not. It's hard apartheid and ethnic cleansing. And in Gaza, we have genocide. As the state of Israel, they told us it's a Jewish democratic state. That means if you respect yourself, you couldn't live in a Jewish state because it's Jewish. It belongs to all the Jewish in Israel and about Israel. But if you are Palestinian, especially who withdraw or get out from Palestine, it's not their state. It's for
what about the policemen misbehaving, in the crossings? Have you heard a story of somebody who had to wait 3 hours trying to go to, I don't know, Jordan or something? If you don't know, maybe Saeed knows. No problem.
No, I am now in the family here in Beit Hanina in Jerusalem. They come today from the Ramallah. Take them 4 hours so from Ramallah to Jerusalem now.
But why? What did they do
Especially,
in the 4 hours? What did they do during this time?
the soldiers check everything, and it takes time. A lot of vehicles there. It's difficult to pass from Ramallah to Jerusalem. It's very difficult. Also, there for example, if they want, they have no water. They have nothing. If it's difficult to live there. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you have other examples, Said? Why
Of course.
is it difficult to live there, and how they're being misused? People are being put through long queues and are made to suffer in ways that people in Israel, for example, don't suffer.
You know, I have a life example. My mom is a U.S. citizen, and she lives right now in Al-Mizrah Sharqiyya. And the reason she don't come, she come every winter here. The reason she don't come because of what happened in Gaza and the effect of Gaza and the West Bank. So now my mom, I call my mom every other day, and she tell me the suffering of her being there. How it will take 40 minutes, like 7 minutes trip to Ramallah, it will take her 40 minutes to hour and a half. And now, you know, they are kind of like restricting people from working in their home and their farmland, from working, from traveling. A young teenage Israeli soldier can shut down the whole road between Ramallah and Nablus just because he failed to. So these restrictions and these pressure will create, like aggression. So my mom is suffering right now, and I'll give you an example. My cousin, he own, a company like Brax. He go to Tul Karim, and he get my mom to drive with him because my mom is a U.S. citizen, and if he feel like in danger from soldiers or settlers, my mom say, "Oh, I'm an American citizen. That's my son." Imagine by carrying the passport, she feel like she can protect my cousin and my brother who is going to work in different town. So there is a lot of suffering. The suffering is the occupation and the settler, and so there is so many examples that we can use.
Walid, thank you, Said. Walid, can you give an example of something which is not recent, not because of of the war, but something that used to be for the last 10, 15, 20 years, an inconvenience that you can recall?
I'm not remember all these. There is a lot of occasion what's happened. For example, for humiliation houses, for take lands of the Palestinian, of the farmer. A lot of they took a lot of land. They destroy houses. They make a thing because their ideology is that the Jewish or the settlers have the idea, the superiority, because they think that they are chosen people. Our God give and promise the Jewish people to take all the land, to let all the Palestinians out. So they behave as a master of the land. They didn't want the Palestinians to stay in their land. They destroy everything. They destroy their farms. They destroy their houses and everything, in the trees and all the, and they behave them as a not a human.
Okay, I think. Yeah, I understand. So I think we made this second alleged statement, whether truth, whether it's true or not, viewers can judge. Now, the third subject which we are proposing is something everyone anywhere would agree on, including the locals, is basically discrimination against Israeli Arabs. Yeah. So we spoke about Arabs living outside of Israel or in the West Bank and in Gaza, but what about the Arabs living within Israel, or the so-called Israel, where the Jewish part, the Jewish-dominated part? So, as an Arab, you, Walid, living in Israel, do you feel discriminated against in any way?
Very bad discrimination in every field, in the universities, in the in the municipality, in the behavior, and in every aspect of life, there is a discrimination. What I do, for example, we respect all the roles. We want to learn, and but they didn't allow us to take a position. We have a glass ceiling. Glass ceiling. In spite that there is a law, there is a they said that they are a democracy state, but still we feel that we are fifth degree of the society. In spite that we are good education people. For example, 40% of the pharmacists are Arab, and 35% of the doctors in the hospitals are Arab, and there is a lawyers, there is a high-tech man. For example, the doctor who make for Aizer Weizmann the operation, he make him the cardiolog. He's Arab.
Yeah, but are they being discriminated against? I mean, you are describing complete equality. They can be doctors and pharmacists, so they're not discriminated against.
No, because they discriminate us in every field. At every field, in spite that I told you, in spite that we are good at education, and we have.
So let's see. Can you give examples of how you are, in fact, being discriminated against?
For example, I give you about the villages. They destroyed from 1948. They destroyed 500 villages. From the start of Israel, they didn't build a city or a village. In spite that they built for Jewish in Israel 700 towns and villages, and they didn't give us a permit to build our houses, and also the investment in the education. For example, for the Jewish per student for the Jewish is about 10,000 shekel, and for the Arabs give us like 30% of this investment, and also there is a not what's called they didn't give the municipalities, they didn't give them the budget. There is discriminate in the budget also, and then the discriminate in
okay. I see. Thank you for the examples. I mean, we'll let the audience be the judge of that. And I'd like to ask Joseph Avisar, how does the IPC solve the issues raised by Walid and Said just now?
Well, the IPC will be a common federal government for the people of Israel in Palestine. We have a major issue, major problem, and that is the Jewish state of Israel to begin with. A Jewish state of Israel is a state for the Jews. When you have a state for the Jews, that means that the Arabs, the Palestinians are not welcome. They are not respected. They are not part of the state. Now, I don't think that it is possible to dismantle the Israeli government, which is the problem. The Israeli government is the problem. The Israeli Jewish state is the problem. And the Israeli Jewish state created the Palestinian governments, the Hamas government and the PA and Hezbollah in the north, because it politicized religion. A federal government for the people of Israel and Palestine would remove that politicization of religion. It would create equality between the Palestinians and the Israelis under one government for the entire area, with a federal legislative branch, parliament, Israelis and Palestinians together, who accepting a constitution together, who do not have to pledge allegiance to Israel or to Palestine, but to the constitution, and they will be free to resolve all the issues within the Israelis and the Palestinians, within Israelis and Israelis, between Israelis and Arab Israelis. They will be able to deal with all these issues in an honest way, in a respectable way, without any preconceived notions, based on equality and based on fairness. And we do simulations to show how this could be achieved and how the federal government could resolve all these issues. The question is, do the Israelis and the Palestinians want it to be resolved? In my opinion, substantial number of Israelis, including the Israeli government, don't want to resolve the issue. They don't want peace. And the Palestinians also, many of them, including their governments, do not want peace. These people, these governments are a danger to the people of Israel and Palestine.
I see. Joseph, okay, I'd like to come back to you in a moment and talk about exactly how the IPC, how will it work? How will this joint new government actually function? Very briefly, we'll come back to that. But before, I'd like to ask Saeed Aziz, please, now that we've discussed the three alleged facts, that one, that settlers are acting in an inhumane way, two, Palestinians in the West Bank are being mistreated and in various ways, and obviously in Gaza as well, and the Israeli Arabs are discriminated against. So let's reverse engineer this, Saeed. Please, you're sitting in LA with all your experience. You've been in an Israeli jail, I believe, for 2 years. You know the people, you know the mentality. You've lived as a Palestinian in the West Bank all your life. Then you emigrated later in life to America. You've been there for 30 years. You know the American system inside out. You have this vision, this overview. Please reverse engineer and explain how on earth did all this happen?
The main reason for this conflict is the discrimination of religion. I don't separate discrimination of religion and discrimination of color. Superiority is a disease. You are coming to me, to my town, invading me, coming to take over my olive trees, and telling me I cannot defend myself. This is the superiority that we need to discuss and we need to put limit to. Regarding the communication and regarding the future of us together, I could agree with my brother Joseph Abasar, and the reason I'm here with you and Joseph actually, because it takes me a while, it takes me a lifetime to get out from the box and see you as a human, as equal as Joseph see me as a human. What is the solution today? I could talk about the problem and the cause of the problem for another century, and we're still going to be killing each other, and our kids and your kids going to be in war again. What is the solution? I hear my brother Walid, he's talking about one-state solution. I hear my brother Joseph talking about common government. I go with Joseph because the reason I go with Joseph, he described it 100%. We're not living in the 1947, 48, 50. We are living in today's today, where it's two different power, a lot of outsider blame in the Jewish project, in the Fatah project, in the PA project, in Hamas project. We need to come and say, okay, how can we resolve this? I want to be free from the river to the sea. I call that Palestine. But in the same time, I'm not here to eliminate you. You could be in your own town. I could be in mine. We could have, a constitution. We could have a common law that apply to all the citizens. And that's what I want. I am 53 years old. I've been living in this country freely. They don't discriminate between me and a white guy and a black guy. Why cannot I go to my town and invite you to eat hummus from my mom, and I go to Tel Aviv in the same time and eat in the same time with you? What we are looking for, a common government. Okay, Israelis select their own government without Palestinian and discriminating against the Arab Palestinian. The PA and Hamas did not run an election since 2006. So, okay, keep all these structures and come on a higher level and say, hey, let's select a representatives who can come and apply a law that apply to everyone. A brother, Joseph Abassar, have an intelligent and amazing idea. I love it. I don't recognize you. I don't have to hate you. I don't have to destroy you. But can I find a way to live with you? And this is the only way, through the common government, with the idea of Abassar.
Amazing. Thank you, Saeed Aziz. Back to you, Joseph, to explain.
I have something to remember now. To take example, the Nazareth, the land of Nazareth. Nazareth is a big city, is the capital city of the Arab in Israel. It's a very historical city. It's 2,000 years before Israel established. And we have Nazareth Alit, a new settler, Nazareth, or what's called North Hagalil. It's a new city established in 1964. They take the land of the Arab, the Nazareth Arab, take their land outside Nazareth, and they built a new settler or new town. It's called Nazareth Alit. They take the places 4 times in the Nazareth. So we have no places in Nazareth. For the example, we have in Nazareth a land. It was for my grandfather. It was 10 dunams. Now it was just one houses. Now because there is no places, and they all surrounded in Nazareth, they take all the places around Nazareth. So they didn't give us, because they told us it's for the Jewish. It's also the population of Nazareth is 3 times than the population of Nazareth Aliyat, but the square of the land of the Nazareth Aliyat 5 times than the square of Nazareth. This is a big discrimination. And also we have in Haifa universities, we have in Safad University. In Nazareth, we have no universities. In Nazareth, Elite, we have big companies, we have factories, we have high tech. In Nazareth, we are nothing. It's just a slimming town. The places surrounded all Nazareth. The Jewish villages have all things. It's in progress. They have factories. They have high tech. They have everything. But in Nazareth, we have nothing. It's a big.
Clear. Okay, thank you for that, Walid. Back to you, Joseph Abassar. So I understand, if I remember correctly, the way you see it happening is in this parliament, in this new federal government, there are going to be 200 people or X amount of people, but the key is that no matter how many Arabs and how many Jews are there, let's say there are 150 Arabs and only 50 Jewish representatives. Fine. Every decision has to be accepted by 55% of the voices. I mean, can you explain that?
Well, yeah. Actually, we are proposing that the entire area will have 300 parliament members representing 300 districts. Each district encompasses 47,000 people in the entire area that includes Gaza, the West Bank, and Israel, that has a total of 14 million people. For them to pass legislation, you would need that 55% of the Palestinian parliament members will agree on a legislation, and 55% of the Israeli parliament members will agree on the same legislation. So once that legislation passes the Palestinian and the Israeli parliament members, once they agree 55% on each, it will be submitted to the Israeli and the Palestinian governments that have jurisdiction over that issue, that have sovereignty over that issue, and those governments will be given a veto power if the legislation violates their sovereignty. If it doesn't violate their sovereignty, they do not have a veto power.
Okay, so let's just test this. So let's say out of 300, you have 220 Arabs and only 80 Jews. So the Jews shouldn't be worried at all. Why? Because let's say that the Arabs are going to propose a law which says, let's kill all the Jews. So unless 55% of the Jewish, did I say, yeah, 80 members of parliament, the Jewish members of parliament accept it, unless 55 of the Jews accept it, it won't be passed. Now, obviously, no Jew is going to accept that, so there's no problem. It doesn't matter if the Arabs are a majority. And similarly, if the Jews wish to pass a law that says, let's kill all the Arabs, it'll never pass because 55% of the Arab votes won't vote for it in parliament. So it's amazing. Going by that, it means only relevant stuff.
In addition to that, we do not call for the dismantlement of the Israeli or the Palestinian government, and we give them a veto power. So even if an unreasonable legislation or one-sided legislation happens to pass, there are additional safety nets, and that is the veto power given to the separate governments and the fact that you need their approval to actually implement the legislation. So unreasonable legislation is very unlikely to pass.
Okay, I think everything is crystal clear, and we can now pass on to the next section of this show, this historic first show with a panel of 4 amazing people. So the subject is, are we at World War III right now? So I'll ask Saeed.
I personally believe we are already in it. And I have my opinion about what's going on. I think there is 2 world orders that we already, one of them is existing and one of them is trying to born or to be created. And I believe this is with the right-wing Zionist government of Israel today. They're not leading the project. They are executing the project. We have to understand the right-wing power who's trying to be running in France and like Trump and Argentina and El Salvador. These people believe in these an evangelical mentality, believing in the story that we have to eliminate everyone and bring Jesus back in the blood of everybody, including the Palestinians. So we are already in it. And you know what? Unfortunately, the election space in America gonna create more chaos, and these right-wing governments of the Zionist state gonna be taking every advantage to, create reason for this to expand and everybody get involved. But I want to get back to
How is this World
War
III? How is this World War III?
Like, for example, imagine yesterday they assassinated Haniya. Haniya is a political guy. He is not a Sinwar. He's nobody. He's not Muhammad al-Deif. He's available for everybody. But for you to go and assassinate him in a state like Iran, that tells you Iran need to respond and react. And this is how Netanyahu wants to lead all this new world order called, like the right-wing mentality and the evangelical project in the world. So to me, there is a lot of seeding for this. And we already have Ukraine, we already have Gaza, and nobody here. But there is one thing I like to remind you. The only solution for the Palestinian issue starts from here. Does not matter if Netanyahu in power or anybody or Joseph Abbas are in power. This is where we're going to start. As you saw that day, the Congress, right and left, bent for Netanyahu. And, we are working hard, and this is the start. And I will ask you, as Michael Bloom, because we all start here together. Put yourself in the shoes of Palestinian for 3 days. Go with Brother Walid. Go to my town, meet my family. And I will tell you, killing the Jewish is not our issue, because Brother Joseph was in my town, in my house a few weeks ago. In the time of the flag, flag riots in Jerusalem, and I
Jerusalem
believe
Day.
he felt as a Jew safe among my family better than in Haifa and Jerusalem. So put yourself in our place, in our shoes, and go see the suffer in first place. You will understand what we're talking about. Thank you.
The problem is, Said, are you telling me, Said, as a Jew, as an Israeli Jew with an Israeli passport and an Israeli ID, you are telling me, you are encouraging me to do what no Israeli I know would do, and that because they believe it's complete insanity to do such a thing, to cross the border between Israel, where I'm sitting now very comfortably, to the West Bank, although there's a big sign over there saying Israeli citizens should not go beyond this point because it's, I think it's they are risking death or it's very dangerous, and do this anyway against the Israeli regulations or advice, military advice, and do it. Now, anyone I've asked said that I must be out of my mind to even consider it because there's no chance I'm coming back alive. And I literally asked friends and they said, you will not come back alive. So let me ask Joseph Avasar, who you say came and visited your family and actually did the unthinkable. Joseph, tell us all about it. And this was like 2 weeks ago, from what I understand.
Well, it was a month ago, but let me respond to your first question. Yeah. I don't think that we are in a World War III. I don't think we are in a world war at all. I think that, World War, we're speaking about a war that includes major parts of the world, like, Japan, China, the United States, America, Europe. That's a world war. What we are in a situation now is where we found a new way to have wars or to have escalations and to have violence. And that is the politicization of religion. We found a new way, or our governments found a new way to separate between Jews and Muslims, and to create a rift and between Jews and Muslims. We didn't have that before. As Jews and Muslims lived in peace for generations. Muslims have given the Jews a lot of peace, tranquility. This whole thing, the separation between Jews and Muslims, started with Zionism. When Zionism came into the picture, then the Jews in the Arab world had no choice but to join the Zionist movement and to separate between us and the Muslims. And what you just described, that you were told not to go to the West Bank, is actually the story of the success of the separation and the politicization of religion. If we did not have the Zionist movement separating between us, we wouldn't even have the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We would be living in peace, in democracy, and with respect. And I think that the sign that you are speaking about is a method to scare us from being friends with each other and to maintain this violence and to give us some sort of a artificial reason to continue with this violence.
So tell us, please, you went there.
That's one of the reasons that I told you that these governments are a danger. They are a danger to
tell us about your trip to the West Bank. We want to hear how you crossed the border and who met you there. And did you feel intimidated at any point? And did you eat anything or what? What happened?
I took a taxi from Ma'ale Adumim. The taxi driver's name was Ali. he has, from what he told me, I think he's an Israeli citizen. He lives both in Ma'ale Adumim and in Ramallah. He has two wives, one in Ma'ale Adumim and one in Ramallah. He took me on a tour before I met Rashid, who is Saeed's brother, and before I met Hisham and the other gentleman, I forgot his name, in Ramallah. He took me on a tour of the area, and he showed me how Jews and Palestinians, settlers and Palestinians live right next to each other. And he showed me how, in many cases, cars, vehicles that have yellow license plate, which means that they are Israeli citizens, are shopping in Palestinian areas because he said that prices are cheaper. So he took me on a tour. Then and when I spoke to him about the idea of a federal government, he said, I love this idea. This is what we need here. And then when we met with Rashid and Hisham and the other gentleman whose name I forgot.
Imad.
Okay. We met first at a coffee shop that is fancier, much fancier than Starbucks here. I mean, the idea that you feel intimidated or you feel scared is completely bogus. I mean, you feel like you met your best friends. We hug each other. You feel connected. You feel love between us. Even though our governments try to separate us, you feel the opposite when we meet in person, and we speak about our lives, about our families, about our children, the things that we care about the most. And then Rashid took us to first he asked me, what kind of fish do you like? You like whitefish or salmon? I told him whitefish. So we ended up in a market where he bought the fish. He bought the fish and then he bought it in a bag, and we went to a restaurant, and in a restaurant row, a very nice area of Ramallah. And they cooked the fish right in front of us. We ate. We had a great time. I mean, there is no difference. There is no difference. We're all human beings. I mean, it was a pleasurable meeting. And we didn't discuss the Israeli-Palestinian conflict exclusively. We talked about our lives. We're human beings. What do you do? What are your difficulties? How do you make a living? What are your difficulties with your children? We all have the same problems, the same issues. And then we went to, Rashid drove us to his village, which is on
المزرعة الشرقية.
Mazra al-Sharqiyya. And, I expected a village in the stereotypical idea that you think of a village. Well, it's not that at all. It's about fancy homes that, he called it the Beverly Hills of the West Bank. Fancy homes, one home after another. Rashid lives there. I believe Saeed has a home there. His mother has a home there. And it's like, and you see the Mediterranean on one side, you see the Jordan on the other side, the country of Jordan on another side. Beautiful area, beautiful air. If we lived in peace, this area would be a vacation spot for the whole world. I mean, so we had a great time visiting the village and seeing Rashid and his two children. And, Rashid and his two children remind me of my cousin. I have a cousin in Rishon. He has 3 children. They are almost identical. They look the same. They're the same age. And I'm thinking to myself, come on, what nonsense are we dealing with here? Rashid and my cousin, they have very, very similar mannerism. They both like to go to restaurants. They like to drive a car. At one point I was sitting with Rashid, and he asked me, "Do you want a thing to clean your glasses?" And my cousin, my nephew, said the exact same thing to me when I sat next to him. It was like these two guys are identical, but they're somehow enemies and afraid of each other. This is a shame. What we are doing is a shame. We are being irresponsible. And now we are growing little children who don't understand the conflict, but they're going to understand that they're going to need to be hating each other and fighting each other without a reason. And it's time for us to get this thing over with, to resolve this. We don't have to be held hostages by the weapon industry, by the idea of politicizing religion. We're all human beings. We're all the same, and it's time to stop. I had a great visit. I'm going to go there again. There is no fear. And by the way, every time I go there, even without Rashid and without Hisham, when I went there with a Jewish license plate at one time, I got lost. And I couldn't find the hotel in Ramallah. And I stopped it was like almost midnight. The city was full of people. The restaurants were full. And I stopped. I got out of my car and I asked 2 Palestinians guys, I said, "How do I get to the hotel?" And they tried to explain. They understood that I don't understand how to get there. So they said, "Follow me." And they start running in front of my vehicle. And they start running one street after another until they got to a clear area towards the hotel. And they just motioned to me, go straight. And I put my thumb up, and they showed me how to get to the idea is that we are enemies of each other is preposterous. We are people. We love each other. We're not enemies of each other. Our governments make us enemies.
Fantastic.
Beautiful.
Unbelievable. Just mind-blowing.
I have to respond. I agree with everything with Mr. Abisar. But I have to return more than 100 years when the Jewish question was a problem in Europe. Because in Europe, 100 years ago, all Jewish have a problem, from Russia to Germany to England, and they get out from Europe. Where are they going? They are going to the Middle East, because the Middle East can contain them, and the Arab can behave with the Jewish as cousin. Really, we are cousin. We are the same prophet, Abraham Avinu. So the European people push the Jewish from Europe. All the Jewish come to our country, so we can live together. Because in the period of Jabotinsky and Herzl, the Jewish want to have a secure state, but they thought that they have to build to live in a secure state here in Israel. But now it's dangerous for the Jewish to stay. It's not secure. It's not secure state because of the colonialism of the government, because the discrimination of the government, because of the ethnic cleansing, because of the genocide. If the Jewish behave as a good friend, as without discrimination, here we can live together as we have
Yes.
because Israel is not a secure state. It's a dangerous state now for.
So tell me something. Walid, you are a qualified Israeli lawyer in Israel, and would it work both ways? Like, can a Palestinian from Mazra al-Sharqiyya come to Tel Aviv and go to Shuk HaKarmel and eat?
No, it's forbidden. No, it's
why?
No, because they haven't Israeli citizenship, because they are.
But with an American, so let's say someone like Saeed with an American citizenship, can he come to Israel legally?
Not legally, yes, but not always, because they make him as difficult, because it's so he will not prefer to go there. I have a lot of friends, the American also, they didn't come. Also, there is sometimes that they get enter the Israel for the Ben Gurion airport. They have to go to Jordan. It's a lot of, despite that they are American passport, it's they make them a lot of obstacles.
Yeah, because they see the name. Yeah, they realize that he's an Arab person. They don't want him in Israel.
And they take him aside to check him. It's take the 3-4 hours. I have some friend that take him all the day. It's difficult.
Well, interrogating him.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, what a wonderful conversation this was. I mean, we're almost about to end this. So I'm wondering, Saeed Aziz, can you say something from the bottom of your heart? How did this episode go? Is there anything specific you want to end this with?
One remarkable thing in my life, when I saw your grandmother, who born in Jerusalem in 1923, and she spoke with all the love and all the facts, and she told you, they are my brothers, and we never have a problem with Arabs and Palestinians. The second remarkable thing, as a Palestinian who never ever sit with a Jew, and I consider Joseph Awassar my enemy, and you are my enemy, when I met Joseph, he really brought change in my own way. They call me a jasus because they see me with Joseph, and they call Joseph my Mossad recruiting agent, because I'm speaking to Joseph. They call me a jasus. They shut down my 3 TikTok accounts, and they call me a jasus recruited by Joseph. I see a hope. Yes, we are tiny. Yes, we are small, but we bring in awareness. And this nation, what you call, misleading Jewish people in Israel, and the Palestinian carry hate from different ways of things, need a leadership. And I could see here a leaders. I could see here a hope. I could see here somebody who can bring light in the end of the tunnel, and everybody going to look at you and say, you know what, this makes sense. This is the only solution. I encourage to keep going. I met Joseph, and I'm honored, I will say, to have 2 Jewish brothers I call, Michael Bloom and Joseph Awassar. I am honored to meet you in this lifetime, and I'm willing to put all my power and connection to bring a common ground and a common way to live together, because you know what? Evil is in control. We are the light of angels, and let's keep going. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'd just like to clarify, you mentioned my grandmother and the story with my grandmother. So just to clarify, my grandmother is 98 and a half. She's still alive, bless her.
Wow.
And she was born in 1926. She is Ashkenazi Jew Polish origin. But she was actually born in Israel in 1926. Her parents are from Warsaw originally. And she lived here amongst Arabs when there was the majority of people here were Arabs. That's what she always says to me.
Michael, there was no such a thing called Israel in that time.
Yeah, exactly. She lived in Palestine. So my grandmother is a Palestinian, essentially. And she speaks fluent Arabic because she grew up with Arabs in Haifa. And she always says, and she still says, that these were amazing times and they lived really well together, and the Arabs are extremely hospitable and they help them in every way until everything went wrong. So it's true, it's possible, and she's a living testament to that. Anything else, Walid, you wanted to clarify before we conclude?
I think it's time to make a historical reconciliation. It's enough bloodshed. It's more than 100 years. It's enough bloodshed. We have to reach. We can't cancel the Jewish, and the Jewish, they can't cancel. We have to live together. We have to live together. We have to build one democratic state, one vote, or one man, one vote.
Amazing. Joseph, would you like to conclude with a sentence?
No, I think your podcast was very inspirational. I think that this is a good example of Israeli Jews and Muslims living and finding a way to live together, and our humanity. And I want to thank you, Michael. You've been very instrumental in helping this become a reality.
Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you very much, and God bless us all.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you.
Amen.